Hey, welcome back to Stay Focused, the podcast. This is episode number 8. Today, I got a very special guest, the first current NFL player that's been a part of this show. So, very blessed. But without further ado, let me introduce former Mayfield Wildcat, former UMass Minuteman, and current Buffalo Bill, Andy Isabella. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Let's go, man. Bills Mafia.
Yeah,
What up,
Bill
man?
Mafia. Are you currently living in Buffalo? Do you live in Buffalo?
Yeah, I live in Buffalo, man. I love it. It's just where I grew up in Cleveland, so it reminds me of home. I feel like I'm at home. I'm only 2 hours from home, so I love it here in Buffalo.
How's the weather out there right now?
Oh, yeah, beautiful day. That's why I'm walking out here. I like walking and talking, so I'm gonna walk
Okay.
in the sun and soak it up, because usually it's like 20, 30 degrees and snowing out here.
Absolutely. It's the opposite. I'm from Texas, so right now it's starting to warm up. It's starting to get in that high 80s, low 90s range. But pretty soon it's going to be in the hundreds. I'm sure you've been to Texas a few times, so you already know how that goes. But it's like the complete opposite of Buffalo.
Yeah, no, I started my career in Arizona.
Right.
And I think I was awake. I've never been out there and experienced that heat until then. And it'll get up in the 115s, and it's brutal.
Yeah, man.
Well, you get used to it though.
Yeah, for sure. And like to me, I think cold, I consider cold like 60, 50. I'm sure that's nothing to you. That's probably actually warm for you.
Oh yeah, that's why I like playing it right there.
Yeah, man. So let me start by like your journey. Obviously, I mentioned Mayfield. I like to start back like in the early days, like high school days. But even before then, man, growing up, obviously you're known for your speed, you're known for your track career. But growing up, man, was it like when did you realize, or when did someone else realize, like, man, this guy's got some burners, this guy is fast? Because like I know right now, I know a guy from my hometown. Shout out to Jack Robinson, the goat farm. These kids that are running track, and I know they do a lot of training. I know they do a lot of special training and races and things like that. Was that something that you did, or was it just completely natural, God-given speed?
Definitely a lot of God-given. I mean, I definitely had to work hard later on, but I always had that quick burst. And definitely started realizing it when I was in soccer, and they would just kick the ball out in front of everyone. I'll just go chase after it and score a goal. Yeah. Then people were like, wow, this kid's pretty fast. And then it was just like, this is the guy that we want to get the ball to all the time. And it's just like, all right, well, how can I use it? How can I develop it? And I just kept working and developing my speed, and that's been my main thing, even in the NFL, is my speed.
Yeah, man. And then you get to high school, you become the track star, you go and win state in the 100. And I know you competed, you had like that little friendly rivalry with Denzel Ward, and he won the 200, right? You took home the 100, he took home the 200. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So how, like when you ran in high school, how did that translate to the field? Like from the track to the field, how did that translate your speed?
I think for all athletes, it's a good development to work on that speed on the track. And it translates pretty well. I think a lot of people say there's a difference between football and track speed. And I think you have to develop it in the sport. But I think track is a great foundation to build up that leg strength and get you going to the football field.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And you're from like a smaller school. I know y'all's classifications is different in Ohio. It's like division. I know you're Division C. I'm not sure what that would be classified here. Probably like, I'm guessing like a 3A, something like that. So what was your recruiting process? Like, I know you ended up going to UMass. You were kind of overlooked, I guess. What was that whole process like for you?
It was tough. Yeah, like you said, I didn't really have many offers. My junior year, I got the offer, the Air Force Academy, and that was really my only offer. I was kind of just trusting God, trusting that something was going to pop up, because at the time, you couldn't go to the NFL, the Air Force Academy. You had to go serve for about 7 years after, before you did anything after. So if you went to the Air Force Academy, basically the NFL was done. So I had the NFL dream, so I kind of like held out, and I was helping one of my friends in track my senior year indoor right before the signing day. And his dad had connections with UMass, and he was trying to give me a late offer because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go to Air Force. And God willing, it all worked out. He ended up hooking me up with a offer at UMass, and 4 days before signing day, I took the offer to UMass. So it was a little bit not traditional, to be honest, but it all worked out, and I kind of trusted that something was going to happen. And I kept working and kept pushing forward and kept doing stuff like running track. I almost didn't run track my senior year because I was a little bummed. But I ended up doing it, and it ended up resulting in me getting that offer to UMass.
You had an injury. I know you had an injury. Was it during track or football that you had your injury?
Or in high school or college?
Was it high school that you had to give up track, right?
Oh, yeah, in college. So
College, okay.
I went and ran track, and so right after the football season, my freshman year, it was like an up and down season for me. I didn't really get to play that much. So I was like, I'm going to go run track and just go dominate in track. So I went. So I go, and the first race in indoor track, I like blew out my hamstring. Probably the worst injury I've had, but it was like 3 months it took to recover, and I was kind of just like a little bummed about it. But in that time, I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to be like, what's going on, and just kind of trust God and what the plan was, and then just go all in on football that summer. And it came out and had a good sophomore season, and then I was like, all right, run track again. He was like, no, you're not. You're done. You're not running track. You had played well football this year. So I just stuck with football and just developed my skills there. And the rest was history. So, but yeah, I was kind of bummed that the track ended in that way after being state champ in high school. But God always has a plan. He always has something. And obviously my plan was to stick with football and focus on that, not track.
Yeah, man. I know, especially when you're so dependent, like on your speed. I know whenever you suffer like a leg injury, whether it be a hamstring, ACL, anything in the legs, that's got to be kind of scary for your future. Like, you just got to have faith that, everything's going to work out. And I know we see a lot of injuries, obviously in the NFL. And for yours, and those non-contact injuries are always the ones that seem like the most dangerous, because that's usually how the big injuries happen, like the ACLs and things like that. So, man, I'm so glad that you got to recover from that and continue your career as a football player for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Those can be the worst, but just have that faith and just learn from it, and then build yourself back up stronger and be ready to go the next time you get the opportunity.
I know you're a Randy Moss guy, right?
Yeah, I trained with him a little combine. 5 years ago now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's my favorite player of all time, growing up watching him. And I know he came from a small school too, Marshall. So I definitely feel like y'all have that similar, kind of road, because he's from a small West Virginia community, went to Marshall, and then obviously became one of arguably the greatest receiver of all time. So between y'all two, I think y'all are proving that, it doesn't matter. Being obviously everybody wants to go D1, everybody wants to go to Georgia, Bama, Auburn, things like that, places like that. But as long as you can get there to a school that is willing to take you on, get a scholarship or whatever it may be, God can take you from anywhere and help you prosper. You were a second round pick. So man, like the sky's the limit, man. I just wanted to share that with people because I know, everybody's aiming for trying to hit that home run right out of college out of high school. And sometimes, you got to take the small road. You got to hit the JUCOs. You got to hit the transfer. And now they have the transfer portal, which I guess is a good thing. How do you feel about that? Like, coming from a small school, do you feel like that people are transferring from the smaller schools? And does that hurt, some of the players in the long run?
Yeah, I think so too, because you got to develop yourself. You got to stick where you're at and what you're doing. I mean, when I was going through school, like I wanted to go to Alabama. I wanted to go to all these big time programs. But at the end of the day, like, I was stuck at UMass, and going to UMass was the greatest thing for me because it gave me a chance. A smaller school, I'm going to get more opportunities. I'm going to get more time to play, and just immerse myself in there and get better there instead of keep bouncing around, and then you got to restart. You got to kind of get your feet under you again. So, yeah, it was a blessing. It's a blessing. Sometimes you don't realize it, but going to UMass was a blessing. Even though maybe I wanted something better, going to UMass was definitely a blessing.
And I know a lot of people bring up the Georgia game to you, and I know you don't like to really talk about it because y'all didn't win the game, but that was like your shining moment. you shined out against one of the best teams in the nation coming from a small school, but that was like that spotlight was on you. So even if you're at a small school, like once it's time, like show out, and people won't care where you're from. People are finding these hidden gems at these small schools, and they go on to have great careers. So yeah, man, I definitely am grateful that you stuck it out at UMass, and I'm glad that you're having the career that you're having right now, man. You're able to make it to the NFL. And man, what's it been like so far? I know you got drafted by Arizona. Obviously you got to play with Larry Fitzgerald at the back end of his career. As a mentor, as somebody in the locker room to share with one of the greatest receivers of all time, what was that like for you? How did that help your game and even your mentality as a football player?
Yeah, as you go through your career, you realize how kind of fast the NFL goes by. I mean, he's been retired now for 3 years, which is kind of crazy, and I'm already going on my 6th season now, and it's just crazy. And then for our young advice from a younger self is just to keep learning from everyone, and learn and enjoy the experience and be in the moment, be present, and just keep working hard, because you never know where it's going to lead you, what's going to happen. You might have one bad year here or there. You might not get some of the opportunities that you think you deserve, but if you keep working hard, it will be worth it. I always truly believe something great is going to happen if you stick it out long enough, and God keeps you on that path and he doesn't disturb it.
Absolutely, man. And right now we see the NFL Combine going on. Xavier Worthy just broke the record for the 40 time. So we got another speedster. His draft stock probably just skyrocketed, similar to like how your combine was. So yeah, man, that work ethic, that, just putting in that work, man. And obviously you're known for your work ethic. I think I've seen just looking at your career and looking at interviews, people talking about you, everybody mentions your work ethic. He's a great worker. He comes out every day. But transitioning kind of, how does your work on the field kind of value with your faith in God? Like, because we know how God tells us to work hard at everything we do as if we're working for him. So does that motivate you? Because everybody knows you for your hard work, and obviously you worked hard to get where you're at now.
Yeah, like you quote in the Colossians 3:23, right?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, I see a lot of people get discouraged. They start doing it for other things. They're not really doing it for God, or they're not doing it for the gifts that they've been given. And then they kind of fade away almost and slow down. They don't make the right choices. But if you have that trust and you have that faith, it's easy to show up every day. It's easy to put in the work. And because you have that faith, knowing that your hard work not in vain, and then it's going to somewhere down the road be rewarded, or somehow be some type of purpose for that hard work. And even if you have struggles, those struggles I've seen has helped me teach others and be an inspiration to others. Like I just did a talk at my high school, trying to inspire kids, and that's big for me. And then my career's been ups and downs, and I imagine my career's just been all great. I probably wouldn't even want to do a talk like that, but
Absolutely.
Since I've had my struggles, I'm able to realize there's a higher purpose to everything. And that might be inspiring kids at that school to do something great with their life. So that's why I say work hard every day. You never know what will happen. And I told those kids, I just kept working hard every day. I wasn't the best. But I slowly worked my way each and every day. And over the long haul, it showed off, and it paid off for me.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, being able to share a testimony is so powerful. And I love doing testimonies. I love talking to people and hearing their testimonies. And like you said, if you didn't go through those trials and tribulations to get where you are now, you may not have that same outlook. I saw where your coach was talking about you, and it was like he mentioned you were arrogant when you were coming up, and then you kind of switched it and became this most humble, hardworking kid. So I feel like that's something that happens to us as well. Like we get exalted, we exalt ourselves, and then God kind of humbles us, and then that's when it's like, okay, now you get on that path to where you need to be.
Absolutely. I was telling the kids in the question, they're asking questions, if I knew one of my high school coaches, or one of their high school coaches, and this guy, my sophomore year, he had kicked me off the track team actually because I didn't want to run the 200 because I wasn't very good at it. I was afraid to lose, but I was good at the 100, so I went and ran the 100. I made it out of districts. So in Ohio, you have the districts, the regionals, and then you make it to the state championship for track. So I made it out of district in the 100, and then as the 200 was coming up, I knew I wasn't going to make it out, so I was like, I'm not running this. Which is a bad mindset, obviously. You got to.
Yeah.
He wanted me to run it not because he thought I was going to lose and not going to win. He wanted me to run it because he thought it would help me run the 100 better. But I didn't know that. I was just like, well, this guy just wants me to lose. I don't want to get embarrassed. I'm not running it. So I skipped the race, and then he kicked me off the team, but they let me run in the race still even though I wasn't practicing with the team. And then that regional race, I got destroyed. So I got destroyed my sophomore year track. And after that race, I started wondering. I was like, man, maybe this guy was right. And I kind of had to humble myself and be like, well, maybe I got to learn from these guys. This guy is older than me, knows more. And when I started running the 400, when I started running those longer races, I ended up winning the 100 in states. And that's when I started winning all the races. And it was hard work, because doing the stuff that I maybe wasn't good at helped me with other stuff. And in the long run, doing the stuff that I didn't really like paid off for me in other ways.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I guess people probably think, like, when you're fast, like, you should be good at every race. Like, you should be good at the 100, the 200, the 400, all the relays. I ran hurdles. I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10", like a buck. Especially then, I was like a $125, like the 130. And the only reason I ran hurdles is because my dad did. He was like a hurdle guy. And so I had to be like him. I wasn't that fast. I probably ran like a 4.6. I was very average, but I felt like I had good form and I could do hurdles. And so I stuck with that. I was okay. I didn't make it out of regionals or anything like that. I was a tennis guy. I wasn't a track guy. But yeah, man, like, now I can see that, like, people pushing you to your limits, pushing you to exceed your own expectations. And then obviously I feel like it paid off in the long run. You end up winning state and having that forever.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, is learning from people in front of you and humbling yourself and knowing that, hey, you don't really know it all and you need the help, and trying to find it and just keep getting better every day.
Would you classify that as like a fear? I know you talk about overcoming fears, like with your faith. Is that something that you had to deal with, like in high school, or was that where was that like most in your life? Was it high school or college, or even now, like dealing with stuff that you have to go through?
Even now, I think I used to deal with my fears, just work hard, and sometimes they'll go away, or just avoid them and then work hard, but they'll always resurface unless you deal with them. And I think recently I just started realizing how to deal with them. And you deal with them like through scripture. You read different verses, and when these fears come up, you have these verses and you're equipped with God's word to help you overcome certain situations and just be at peace, knowing that you're on the right path at all times. And when you need to know, and being okay with not knowing, and just knowing that when you know, you'll know when you need to know. And just being at peace with that.
Yeah, you mentioned Colossians 3:20 earlier. My ministry is called Stay Focused. That's actually based off Colossians 3:2, which is set your mind on the things above, not on earth. And dealing with fear, man, like just to go off of that, this is something that I always want to do. I always want to do podcasts. I always want to do this type of interview, but I didn't have the ability to get in front of the camera. The fear was there. The insecurity was there, and so I started doing it at the end of last year because I was like, I want to do something faith-based to spread the gospel. I'm a Christian hip-hop artist, but that was something I was comfortable with. But being like in front of a camera, doing content and things like that, I was like, man, like it sounded good, but I just could never get that, that push. And then finally, man, now I just used God as my motivation. I had that confidence turned to Godfidence, and now I'm more comfortable than ever, and I feel good about it. I feel like once you overcome your fear, God will handle the rest. Like, you got to do your part and just trust Him. That's the main thing, I feel like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How did you you just kind of went for it, or how did you come to that revelation of like trusting God and doing the podcast, maybe going against your fears?
Man, it was slow. It kind of happened slowly. Like I said, I had thought about it probably for like 5 years, man. Like every summer I would be like, man, I want to start a podcast. I want to start a football podcast. So just football. It wasn't faith-based yet. Then I was like, nah, And then slowly I started a ministry first, the Stay Focused ministry. It started off as like a homeless ministry, giving bags, a Bible ministry. I would pass out Bibles and read to people. And then, it just kind of went from there. I like taking baby steps, kind of like trying different things. And then, I reached out to people like I reached out to yourself. And the first person to actually do it was Chris Broussard, analyst Chris Broussard. And so that was just like the beginning. I was like, okay. And obviously I'm anxious not because of him, of who he is, but just being on camera, just looking at a camera and having the fear of like, messing up and not saying the right things, and just I've always dealt with like anxiety and stuff like that. So once you do it though, it's kind of like how it was in music at first. Like when I first started doing music, it was kind of the same way. I was nervous, had fear of certain things, but then over time, it kind of goes away because you get used to it, you get comfortable. And, just trusting God, man. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for God at all. Like, I would not be doing this. I'm more of an introverted person. I like to just be in the house alone. I got 3 kids, so playing with my kids and things like that, man. So, but yeah, man, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this. And I hope, it keeps going from here. Like, God only knows what's going to come out of this. So I'm going to keep it up, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
And, man, I could definitely relate to a lot of that. I was telling the kids, like, I was actually skipped public speaking class when I was in high school because I was too afraid to go talk to people. And I was like, look, it all comes around. I said, usually what you're most afraid of, usually God uses that as your gift to how you could help other people overcome what you were fearful of. So, yeah, man, I hope you keep doing the podcast. I mean, we're happy to be on and talking to you.
Yeah, man. And another guy that helped me was actually one of my friends from my hometown. He's a minister. He's been doing ministry for a long time, probably 30 plus years. Minister Slugger. And, I had told him, I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm the preacher type. I don't have that voice like that. He's got this real thunderous voice. And I'm like, man, I don't have that. Like, I don't have that persona. And he was like, man, to be honest with you, I didn't like my voice. I didn't feel comfortable up there either. And I'm just like, really? And so when he told me like how much of an introvert he was and how much he had to overcome to be the speaker that he is today, I was just like, man, like that helped me because seeing him do that and just knowing him, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do it, especially for God. I'm going to do it for God. So that helped too. Just people's testimonies and things like that. Yeah, man, that always helps for sure.
Yeah, that's big time, man. It's awesome to hear your story like that.
Man, do you have like I had Cody Bradford on here recently from Texas Rangers, and one of his things was like sharing the gospel like in the clubhouse. Do you have like teammates that you're able to share that with and like have a bond like through that?
Yeah, so we actually do a Bible study every week, and it's kind of funny because this is the first year I actually did the Bible study. Because the first 4 years of my career, I was kind of like almost too scared. I didn't think that maybe I would be accepted there, or if I wasn't worthy of going there. But for some reason, I was like, I have something, I'm still missing something maybe. And maybe I need to be around a community of like-minded people. And I finally, the first week, I went there and it was awesome, man. I really immersed myself in there. Because usually I'd be too afraid to talk. But I made it my goal to like, hey, I'm going to share something each week of maybe what I'm going through or one of the scriptures that stuck out to me and really challenge myself. And doing that, I really saw so much growth in myself, just trying to get out of my comfort zone and then really trying to immerse myself in the Bible and the Word and just be around like-minded people that are wanting to do the same thing. And it was huge. I mean, the whole season for me this year it was ups and downs. I played some games. I didn't play other games. But when I played well because I just kind of had faith that everything was going to work out and this is what God's plan was for me. And I use that kind of Bible study to help others and use my story and what I was learning throughout the season to help my teammates in that Bible study. And it was awesome, man. And now going into year 2 with Buffalo, we're going to start the Bible study up soon again when all the guys get back. So I'm excited for it and see how it just keeps growing.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear that. Just to hear that it really is, because people don't talk about that enough. Obviously, we get caught up in the sports and we get caught up in who's winning, who's losing, stats and everything like that. But with the things behind the scenes, like having that camaraderie with your teammates, having, the brotherhood, like through faith, like, man, that's something that I'm trying to shine light on too, man. So it's great to hear that. And that's kind of what Cody said too. They have like a Bible study, they have get-togethers, and he's able to have that bond with them outside of work, outside of, baseball, and in your case, football. So yeah, man, that's awesome, man.
That's awesome. You say you're part of a ministry?
Well, right now it's just me. I'm just doing it. This Stay Focused is just me by myself. So everything I'm doing right now is myself. I do have a band of brothers, like you said. And before doing hip hop, I was doing secular stuff and kind of coming into the gospel world, but I didn't have that band of brothers. I felt like a lone wolf. I felt like everybody that was around me wasn't trying to do what I was trying to do. So it was really hard to stay focused, which is where they ended up coming from. So now I actually just recently moved to Temple, Texas, which is sort of by Austin. And I had like a group out of CHH Austin. I actually linked up with them. So like you said, man, having that band of brothers and sisters is so important, because before that, I didn't think I would do music again just because I didn't have anybody with me. It was very hard for me to stay focused. I was kind of doing that, in and out type of stuff, and dealing with life and things like that. But yeah, man, so I definitely agree. Having that strong bond with the brothers and walking with people in the faith is very important. Very important.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's something I had to learn too. Was it's sometimes you gotta have that band of brothers. It's not about being the lone wolf. And just like you, I mean, a lot of my life I try to be that lone wolf, but it really wasn't that fulfilling until you kind of get around other people, help other people, and kind of you go a lot farther. I got pretty far by myself, but you're sometimes you're not gonna take that next step, that huge step, without the people around you helping you in that strong and like-minded case. I think group of people around you.
Absolutely, man. I know you come from a big family. I'm the opposite. I'm my only child. So.
Yeah. I can't relate with you there.
I know. No, I saw you have 6 siblings.
Yeah, 6 siblings.
Yeah, man. And now it's just me and mom. My dad passed away, and so it's me and my mom. And I do have 3 kids and a wife now. So my family has grown, but it's definitely smaller than yours.
Yeah, that's a blessing, man. That's awesome.
For sure, man. Before I let you go, man, what is like a favorite Bible verse of yours? What is something that comes to mind that motivates you daily that you like to share with others?
Definitely Joshua 1:9. Be strong, courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And something my mom would always send me, especially when I went off to UMass. And I would have kind of like, it was hard when you go off by yourself, you got to grow up. You grow up fast. And I mean, and being the oldest of 7, my mom and dad had a lot of responsibility trying to take care of all of us. So I was always kind of like sometimes doing stuff on my own and kind of learning, and sometimes usually the hard way. But that verse always kept me strong. Like, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, God's always with me. And that gives me strength and courage to keep going, and kind of brings me at peace knowing that even if I'm in the darkness, that I know God is with me no matter what.
Yeah, he's always going to bring you out of it. I've dealt with the depression. I've dealt with things like that. I've been in dark places, and just knowing that, man, knowing that God is with you, and to not really, don't worry about it too much. Cast your anxieties on him. That's another verse, but cast your anxieties on him, man. And he'll see you through it. Like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there's good at the end of every trial and tribulation that we go through. There's always going to be something good that comes out of it. So yeah, man, thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're in the off season right now, and I'm excited for your season coming up. Y'all have a great team as it is, and with everything happening now, with people moving around, you never know what's gonna happen. So I pray that y'all have a successful season. I pray you have a healthy season, man, and God continues to be with you through it.
Amen. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. If y'all haven't already, go follow Andy on all social media platforms. I'll put all his information in the description below. Continue to stay focused, and God bless y'all.
God bless.